G'day guys, Dan here from Epic Drives Western Australia. Spring's just started. It's beautiful at the moment. Flowers have started to come out and the weather is just slightly warmer. And with that, it's a great time to get stuck into four-wheel driving if you're not already. And I've decided to create a new playlist all about gear that you just simply should never go off-road without, aimed around the true beginner. So if you're unsure of what you need, there's stuff that will get you home and won't leave you stranded and embarrassed that you sort of wish you'd gone out prepared for. So we're going to cover one of those today. If you are new to this channel, first of all, welcome, and please subscribe and click the little bell so you don't miss our next adventure. This series is designed for all of you who are new to four-wheel driving, and if you're not, well, not a problem. Hopefully I can give you some information that you may not previously have known. The first thing that I believe you simply can't go without, and it's this thing inside this dusty old broken box. I've had it for about 5 years and it's still going strong, touch wood. You may all be familiar with what this is. It's an air compressor and you really can't go without one, and for this reason this is my number one must-have bit of kit for your 4x4. Air compressors come in many shapes and forms, but for four-wheel driving the most popular is probably the 12-volt air compressor, and there are many brands on the market, and some air compressors can be permanently mounted under your bonnet, but perhaps my favourite is the portable unit. Now, it may be tempting to buy a cheap air compressor, but it's not very wise. The last place that you want to be let down by a cheap inferior bit of kit is in the middle of nowhere on a dirt road or on the beach on an incoming tide. Now, air compressors are great for inflating tyres. They offer high pressure delivered at a relatively slow rate, which is perfect because you can gradually inflate your tyres to the desired PSI. However, if you intend to use it for other off-road uses, namely air mattresses, they're virtually useless. It requires far less pressure, but they need to have a much higher volume of air. So in cases like this, it's also handy just to have the old-fashioned foot pump. You'll save heaps of time and your eardrums as well. So the main issue with cheaper compressors is overheating. All air compressors get hot, and poor quality motors, pistons and hoses are going to be the things that at the end of the day let you down. So when you're shopping for a compressor, a good ballpark range is anywhere around the $200 to $400. You can spend more if you want, but that's just for you flush people out there that have too much money. In that sort of price range, you're going to get a relatively fast inflating compressor. Some brands are faster than others at reinflating your tyres, and typically the less you pay, the slower the compressor works. It's not the only factor to consider when comparing air compressors. Just as important, if not more important, is durability. How serviceable are they, and the ease of using them, and also a warranty. A quality compressor should have an air filter that can be easily cleaned and have a thermal cutoff, as well as an easily replaced fuse. Another consideration when it comes to shortlisting air compressors is to decide whether you want to have a fixed permanent air compressor under your bonnet of your car or a portable one like this one here. And I guess the main reason for that would be if you're going to use it for multiple vehicles, and the ease of having air on demand without having to remember to pack one of these portable units. However, the main reason why you might consider having a permanently mounted air compressor in your bonnet is if you've got air lockers. If you've got air lockers, you've got to have compressed air, and being able to reinflate your tyres is just a bonus of having that. Another thing to consider adding to your bag of tricks is the tyre pressure gauge. Digital ones work the best because you get a much more accurate reading. The only problem with the gauge on the compressors is they're very inaccurate. They give you a rough idea. So having one of these, whenever in doubt, you can chuck it on and you'll know exactly what your tyre pressures are. There's another piece of kit that I highly recommend that you get a hold of, and they're known as tyre deflators. The brand that I use are Storn. pretty much the industry leader in them, Australian made. I'll try a bit of camera magic here and see if it can work. Great thing about these is you preset them to the desired pressure that you like. You screw them on. By the time you put the first one on and you go around all 4 tyres, first one's done, you go around, you unscrew them all again, and you're done. It saves so much time. So whilst we're on the topic about air, let's talk about tyre pressure. And this will depend on quite a few factors. The terrain that you're driving, the size of your tyres, and the weight of your vehicle. I'll run you through the basics of the pressures that I run on my Hilux, but it all comes down to preference and experimentation. I'll also be making a video on tyre pressures in the future, and I'll link it when it becomes available. But as a general rule, most 4-wheel drive tyres recommend tyre pressures of around 40 psi on the highway, 32 to 25 psi for bush tracks and mud, and anywhere between 18 to 12 psi on sand to achieve a bigger footprint. Now, running pressures as low as 12, you need to be very, very careful that you don't actually roll your tyre off the rim. So that about wraps it up for the first episode all about gear. However, we've only really just begun to scratch the surface, and hey, we're all still learning. I'll also link in the description below about 5 or so compressors that I reckon are pretty good, and I'll also list where you can grab the digital tyre pressure gauge and the Storm tyre deflators. Might help you out rather than having to waste your time searching the internet if you're in the market for any of the gear. So there you go, grab yourself a compressor if you haven't got one. Mess around with tyre pressures. If you did like watching, please subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. And I will hopefully see you again very soon on the next episode of Epic Drives Western Australia. Catch ya.